On my wedding morning, I got one text from my mom. Don't ruin their vacation with your guilt trip. Then I saw the post. My entire family at a luxury poolside brunch. Caption. We finally feel whole. I turned off my phone, said my vows, then went home and pulled every corporate card, froze the foundation's account, and initiated the trust dissolution. A week later, my dad was at my door, red-faced. This was their greatest betrayal. Not when they skipped my graduation after I moved across the country and finished college alone. Not when they used my name to get a business credit line without asking. Not even when they laughed behind my back at Christmas 2 years ago saying I was a tech fluke with too many emotions. I brushed all of that off. I told myself they didn't mean it the way it sounded. That maybe they were just too old school, too stuck in their ways, or didn't know how to show love the right way. But this was deliberate. This was coordinated. And the worst part, I'd still hoped. I had 3 extra seats reserved in the front row, place cards printed, name tags tied with silver ribbon. My fiancée, now wife, had asked me the week before if I was sure about including them. I told her yes. I told her maybe this would be the moment they showed up for me. Really showed up. And I didn't want to deny them the chance. I should have known better. At 10:42 a.m. the morning of my wedding, I checked my phone for the last time before the ceremony. I wasn't expecting a miracle, just something, a text, a call, maybe a photo from the road. Instead, there was one message from my mom. Don't ruin their vacation with your guilt trip. No greeting, no explanation, no apology, just that. I froze. I reread it twice, then opened Instagram without thinking. My brother had posted something to his story. A boomerang. My entire family laughing by a pool, raising glasses of champagne. Caption. We finally feel whole. They were in Napa at the Alberts, a place I recommended to my mom last year when she said she needed a break from the noise. She laughed and said it was too extravagant. Guess it wasn't too extravagant for the weekend of my wedding. They had all gone. My parents, my brother, his wife, even our Uncle Greg, who didn't do family events, was there wearing sunglasses and holding a cigar like he was the king of something. That brunch was their celebration. Not me, not my marriage, not my future, their brunch. I sat back on the hotel bed in my tux, the ties suddenly strangling me. I didn't reply, didn't text them, didn't call. I didn't tell anyone what I saw. I turned off my phone and left it on the nightstand. The ceremony went ahead. Fewer guests than we planned, but the ones who mattered were there. Her parents hugged me like I was their own. My friend showed up dressed to the nines and loud with support. I said my vows. She said hers. We kissed. People clapped. We posed for pictures under string lights. But inside, something was turning. Not just anger, not grief, something colder, quieter. That night, while the rest of the party moved upstairs to the bar, I stayed behind. Our suite had a small desk. I opened my laptop. Step 1, cancel the cards. There was 6 active under my corporate umbrella. 2, my dad used for business meals that always seemed to involve golf clubs and cigars. 1 under my brother's name. He claimed it was for client travel, but he never had clients. 1 was under my mom's name for charity work. The last 2 were ghosts, aliases they used so they could siphon extra cash through vendors that didn't exist. Gone. All frozen in minutes. Step 2, the foundation. My foundation started after my second software company went public. I had poured a portion of the proceeds into it to support education grants, community initiatives. I brought my family in so they'd have something to be proud of, a legacy they could grow. They turned it into a trophy shelf. Lavish board dinners, international site visits that were really just luxury vacations. I froze every account and notified the board. No more access. Full audit pending. Step 3, the trust established before I turned 30. Designed to secure not only my future but theirs. Generational wealth, protection, stability. I'd already been considering dissolving it after a few years of watching them drain it without appreciation or purpose. That night, I initiated the process. There were safeguards, but I knew the language. I knew the loopholes. It would take a few weeks, but it would end. By midnight, my family had no idea that the lifestyle they cured so carefully through my name was collapsing in real time. The next morning, my phone was still off, but the messages had already started piling up because this wasn't just a reaction. It was the start of something they didn't see coming. I turned my phone back on around 10 o'clock the next morning. My wife was still asleep, curled up in the hotel sheets, peaceful in a way I envied. For a few seconds, I stared at the screen, watched the flood roll in. 37 missed calls, 17 voicemails, dozens of texts, mostly from my dad and brother, some from unknown numbers I didn't recognize, but I knew exactly who they were. My mom's church friends, Greg's drinking buddies, people who had no business in this, but were suddenly concerned. The voicemails were all over the place, confused, angry, demanding. My dad's voice first, tight, clipped, full of fake calm. "Brian, call me. We need to talk. You've made a mistake." Then my brother, "What the hell did you do to the cards? I was in the middle of booking something for Mom. You seriously trying to screw us over the day after your wedding?" Then Mom, "I told you not to make this about you." That was it. No greeting, no apology, just blame. Still, I didn't respond. I got dressed, took my wife out for brunch in the city, and let it all sit. By the time we got back, I had 3 emails from the foundation board, the head of compliance, 2 junior lawyers. They'd received immediate notifications that certain funds had been frozen pending an audit. It worded the notice carefully, cited financial irregularities, and included screenshots, years of small transactions that built a case. It wasn't just personal anymore. It was official. That afternoon, my brother called again. I let it go to voicemail. "Okay, so what now, man? You're going to take everything just because we didn't show up to your wedding. That's how petty you are. You know how much we do for you behind the scenes? Do you have any idea how bad this makes you look?" I laughed out loud. My wife looked up from her book. I just shook my head and handed her the phone. She listened, gave it back and said, "You're doing the right thing." And I knew I was, because this wasn't revenge for missing my wedding. This was decades of buildup, finally breaking the dam. Their absence just clarified what I already knew. They never cared unless there was something in it for them. The next day, the real storm hit. A lawyer contacted me, a name I recognized. My dad had used him once during some shady property deal. He said he represented several concerned parties, and that my actions surrounding the trust and corporate entities had caused distress and potential financial harm. He used words like reconsider restitution and legal action. I sent a single email in return. It had 2 lines. "All funds in question are tied to my personal income and held under my legal ownership. There is no further discussion to be had." I signed it, attached the legal records that proved it, and copied my own legal team on the thread. 3 hours later, the lawyer replied simply, "Understood." That night, my wife and I celebrated in a small way. Pizza on the balcony, just the 2 of us, no guests, no speeches. She said, "You've never looked lighter." I felt it too. But I also knew my family wouldn't walk away. They weren't built that way. They tried to twist it, spin it, guilt me from every direction. What they didn't realize yet was that their access to me, emotional, financial, relational, was permanently gone. They weren't going to sue their way back into my life, but they were going to try. By Wednesday, it got uglier. My mom had somehow gotten through to one of the junior lawyers at the foundation. She left him a voicemail accusing me of abuse of power, claiming she was a co-founder and that I was sabotaging years of her community work. The lawyer forwarded the message to me asking how to proceed. I told him to document everything and ignore direct contact. If she wanted to talk, she could go through my legal team. That night, my brother tried calling again. I let it ring out. A minute later, a new message. "You're really gonna drag the whole family down over this over one weekend. This is why nobody takes you seriously. You don't get what it means to forgive, grow the hell up." They still didn't get it. They thought I was doing this because I was hurt, that it was emotional, temporary, like I'd cool off and hand it all back. I wasn't hurt anymore. I was done. Thursday morning, my dad finally showed up at our apartment. I opened the door just enough for him to see I hadn't changed my mind. He didn't ask how I was. Didn't mention the wedding. He went straight into it full volume. You've humiliated us. I had a board meeting canceled because of this trust nonsense. Greg can't even use his card anymore. What the hell do you think you're doing? I didn't say anything. He kept going. We brought you into this family. We supported you even when you were impossible to deal with. Now you pull the rug out from under your own blood. You think your little wife is going to be enough when this all blows up? That was it. I stepped outside, closed the door behind me, and told him it was over. Every connection we had, professional, financial, familial, was closed. He said something about court, about how I regret cutting off the people who made me. I didn't answer. I walked back inside and locked the door. The next day, they made it public. My sister, who hadn't said a word since before the wedding, posted a thread on X. She talked about how her brother had cut off the family for no reason, how money changed him, and how our parents were heartbroken but too proud to admit it. She included photos from the brunch in Napa, said they had gone to celebrate healing and connection. She framed it like I'd been invited but chose to be cold and distant instead. The replies were brutal. People who didn't know us offering sympathy, blaming me, asking what really happened. My friends started messaging me. Some of them had even been tagged in comments. I didn't say a word publicly. I didn't need to. Instead, I forwarded the post to my lawyer and asked him to finalize the second audit on the foundation, the one that would detail every luxury purchase, every ghost invoice, every charity dinner that cost more than some people's rent. Let them talk. Let them spin. They were playing for public sympathy. I was playing for the truth. And the truth was coming. Saturday morning started with a single email that shifted the ground under all of us. It was from Jenna. I hadn't heard from her since she left the foundation a year ago. No goodbye, no drama. She just disappeared. Sent one short resignation email citing personal concerns and ghosted everyone. I figured she'd burned out. Everyone assumed she just couldn't handle the pace. Her message now was barely 2 lines. I saw what your sister posted. I'm sorry. I've been sitting on something for a while. If you're ready, I'll send it. I told her I was ready. 10 minutes later, she shared a drive with over 100 files. PDFs, screenshots, spreadsheets, audio notes, full transcripts of email threads. At first, I didn't even know what I was looking at. Then I started clicking through and realized she had documented everything. Apparently, she tried raising the red flags before. My mom had brushed her off. My brother told her she didn't understand how real-world nonprofits worked. When she insisted on clarity about the budgets, specifically why $47,000 was charged to strategic donor engagement during what turned out to be a luxury wine tour, she was iced out. Meetings disappeared from her calendar. Emails went unanswered. She left quietly, but not empty-handed. She had been tracking their fraud for months. There were invoices for conferences that never happened. Hotel bills for board retreats that were just family vacations. A weekend Turks and Caicos billed as a field development trip. They even tried to categorize an $8,200 shopping spree at Balenciaga as a professional wardrobe stipend for my mom. But the worst part, they'd use my name to authorize half of it. Digital signature stamps, fabricated approvals. I wasn't just funding their mess. I was potentially liable for it. I forwarded everything to my legal team and the board compliance officer. My lawyer called me back almost immediately. This is serious. We're not talking about mismanagement anymore. This is textbook fraud. I didn't tell my family what I had. Instead, I let the system work. 3 days later, the foundation board froze the remaining accounts and released a public statement. Pending internal investigation, all executive operations are suspended. Auditing has begun. They didn't name names, but they didn't have to. Everyone knew who had been running the show. That night, my mom texted me, "You went too far." Not, "We need to talk." Not, "I'm sorry." Just that, as if I was the one who crossed the line. I ignored it. The following morning, something even I hadn't anticipated happened. A journalist emailed me. He worked for a financial accountability blog I'd never heard of, but he had clearly done his homework. He referenced a few irregularities in the foundation's past 990 filings and said a source had pointed him toward me. I didn't give him a formal statement, but I told him where to look and what to request through public channels. It was all there. Every discrepancy, every inflated number, every financial footnote they thought would go unnoticed. Then late Tuesday afternoon, a final twist I didn't see coming. An email from the IRS, a real one. Simple, direct, terrifying. A federal audit had been initiated concerning documentation provided by a whistleblower involving nonprofit tax reporting irregularities. I hadn't reported them. I didn't need to. Someone else had. Maybe it was Jenna. Maybe it was a donor. Maybe the journalist forwarded something. It didn't matter. They were caught in a system they couldn't lie to, sue, or manipulate. The same family who toasted mimosas in Napa while skipping my wedding was now facing audits, legal fees, and a media investigation. They thought I'd be sad, that I'd disappear into guilt. Instead, I gave them what they feared most: distance, silence, and consequences. They were about to find out just how expensive betrayal can get. By Friday, the silence from them wasn't peace. It was calculation. I knew the pattern. They were regrouping, trying to figure out the next move, who they could still manipulate, who might be loyal. But this time, there was no one left to pressure. The foundation's board cut them off completely. All of their email access was revoked. They couldn't even log into the donor portal. My dad tried calling one of the senior advisors, a guy named Michael, who had been close to me since I was 23. Michael sent me the call transcript. My dad had said the entire thing was a misunderstanding, that I had become unstable since marrying that girl and needed to be reined in. Michael told him flat out, "Brian owns this. You don't." That weekend, the first story dropped online. Small blog, but detailed, clearly based on Jenna's records. It outlined luxury spending disguised as charity operations, including names, dates, destinations, and dollar amounts. They tried to pretend it was all false, but the photos were right there. Greg posing on a yacht, my mom holding a foundation, clipboard at a private resort, my brother at a poker table that was built as a team-building seminar. The next day, 2 donors pulled their commitments. One was a hedge fund guy who had been on board for years. The other was a school district we partnered with to build STEM programs. They both released short statements saying they'd been misled by the representation of how funds were being used. And just like that, the mask was slipping fast. I hadn't spoken to any of them in over a week when my brother finally broke the silence. He showed up outside my apartment at 11 p.m., rang the doorbell over and over. I didn't let him in. He called from the sidewalk. I answered this time. "Okay, man. And you win. Is that what you wanted? You destroyed everything. I hope you're happy. Mom's not eating. Dad's meeting with lawyers every day. Greg's freaking out. You proved your point." I said nothing. He paused. Then he said something that made me pause, too. "They're going to file suit, civil for damages, emotional distress, something. They'll come up with something." I told him, "Good luck with that." I had the documents, the signatures, the financial trails, and more importantly, I had the ownership. The trust was mine, the foundation was mine, the money was mine. He got quiet, then said something I didn't expect. "You were supposed to take care of us." That stuck with me. Not "you were family," not "we were wrong," not "we're sorry," just "you were supposed to take care of us." Like I was their employee, their walking ATM, their scapegoat when things fell apart. That Monday, my mom finally cracked. She emailed me. No subject line. Just one paragraph. "You've made your choice. I hope your wife is worth what you've lost." I read it twice and deleted it, because I hadn't lost anything. They had. And they were only just beginning to realize that no matter how loud they screamed, no matter how much they tried to twist the narrative, the one thing they wanted most, control over me, was gone for good. They filed the lawsuit 2 weeks later. Civil, predictable, alleging breach of fiduciary duty, reputational damage, emotional harm, even intentional financial sabotage. Their lawyer, some polished guy out of San Diego, sent a long-winded complaint that read like a bedtime story for narcissists. The foundation was mentioned over 50 times. So was my name. My legal team barely blinked. They prepared the countersuit in less than a week. Ours came with exhibits, time-stamped invoices, recorded conversations, audit logs, Jenna's archive, copies of forged authorizations. It didn't just discredit their claims. It buried them. But the lawsuit wasn't the real blow that came from the banks. Two major financial institutions closed accounts linked to the foundation. Asset reviews triggered by ongoing litigation and internal investigation. That meant frozen funds, credit dropped, access blocked. They couldn't even pay their lawyer without jumping through 10 hoops. My brother texted me a screenshot of his bank app showing a $0 available balance and captioned it, "Hope you're proud of this." I didn't respond. A week after that, the IRS made a quiet move. Not public, but very real. A freeze on any charitable disbursements until the audit was complete. That was the final nail. With no money flowing, the structure collapsed. And then they started to beg. First, it was my sister. She sent a long email pretending she hadn't posted anything, pretending she'd been on my side the whole time, saying she didn't realize what our parents had done, that she missed me. She said the word family 14 times. Then came my mom, not through email. She showed up at my office. No warning. She looked older, smaller, worn down by a system she used to believe she was above. She didn't yell. She didn't plead. She just asked me to talk. I stood in the lobby and told her calmly that I had nothing left to say. I told her I wasn't angry anymore, that I wasn't trying to punish anyone. I just didn't trust them and I never would again. That was the last time I saw her. The lawsuit never made it to trial. They dropped it quietly a month later. Couldn't afford to fight it. Couldn't risk discovery. And now they're ghosts. My dad rents a smaller place an hour outside the city. Greg moved back in with a friend. My brother's doing freelance work, bouncing between gigs. My mom still tries to get invited to charity events. No one takes her calls. My wife, she's the only one who never doubted me. She stood beside me when it got ugly. She told me over and over that letting go of them wasn't loss. It was clarity. And she was right. The truth is, I didn't destroy them. They did that to themselves. The big one update. It's been 6 months since everything unraveled. Since the lawsuit, since the foundation was officially dissolved, since I closed the door and made peace with never reopening it. And in those 6 months, something better happened. I became a father. Our son was born 2 weeks early, healthy, loud, and already looking like he knows more than we do. Holding him for the first time erased parts of me I didn't realize were still bruised. The bitterness didn't vanish, but it softened. Being a dad rewired something I didn't expect. It made me more patient, but also less tolerant of nonsense. There's no space for liars around someone who's never known dishonesty. We named him Jacob. Not after anyone, just a name we both liked. Clean and untangled. A week ago, we threw him a small birthday party. Just family and a few close friends. Her parents were there, of course. So were the friends who actually showed up to our wedding. We kept it simple. Backyard cake, balloons, a few noisy toys that he won't remember, but will never forget. I sent the invite to my parents. I didn't expect anything, but I sent it. No grand gesture, no hidden message, just a short email with the date, time, and address. They didn't respond. No call, no text, no gift sent quietly with no return address. Nothing. At first, I felt that familiar flicker. That part of me that still wants to believe they might change or care or grow into something better. But it passed quickly. I looked down at my son chewing on a plastic dinosaur and thought, this is the clean break I needed, because now I know they never wanted me. They wanted access, control, image. And this time there was no money involved, no leverage, no guilt to weaponize, just an invitation to a child's first birthday. And even that wasn't enough. So now I'm not angry. I'm just clear. My family isn't missing. They were never there to begin with. But I have a new one now, and he's all in.